If you're wondering if you should buy GHOST Whey Protein powder, this video is for you. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing GHOST Whey Protein powder. In fact, we're actually going to review two of them. We're going to be reviewing their traditional whey protein powder as well as their clear protein powder. And we'll look at their ingredients, their claims, their cost, their overall quality, and if I recommend it as a good option. But first, hi, my name is Katey. I'm a registered dietitian and certified personal trainer. My goal with this channel is to help you learn more about nutrition, fitness, and wellness so that you can be your best, whatever that looks like. I also love to do product reviews, so if any products or topics you want me to cover, just let me know in the comments below. Alright, so let's get started. What is GHOST? According to their website, GHOST is a lifestyle sports nutrition brand, and it was founded by Ryan Hughes and Daniel Lourenco in 2016. When you go on their website, you'll see that GHOST offers a ton of different products. Obviously, they have protein powders, but they also have greens powders, pre-workout, energy and hydration drinks, creatine, and even cereal. But today we're going to focus on their star products, which include their different protein powders. So let's take a look at them now. According to their website, they have two different types of whey protein. They have a traditional whey protein powder, and when I say traditional, it just means your standard kind of milky based protein powder. And they have a newer type of whey protein powder, which is their clear version, which is basically a thinner version of protein powder that you can mix with water, and it's not as milky as a traditional one. So in this video, when I say traditional protein powder, I'm talking about kind of the milky based one you typically would buy, and the clear one is obviously the clear version. So on their website, when we take a look at the traditional whey protein powder, they have 10 different flavors. So you're bound to find one that you like. Interestingly, they've done a few collaborations with different types of food brands, especially cookies and Cinnabon ones. So for example, they have brand collaborations with Oreo, Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter, and Cinnabon. So they do have some pretty interesting flavors here that you probably won't get with other companies. For their clear whey protein powder, this is a little bit newer, so they don't have as many flavors right now, but they have 3 different ones you can choose from. In terms of their ingredients, they are relatively similar, but they do have some distinct differences, so we're going to review that now. So first, let's look at the traditional whey protein powder and its ingredients. According to their nutrition facts table, 1 scoop offers 130 calories, most of which is coming from 25 grams of protein. Like I say in all of my videos, I love when protein powder companies have at least 20 grams of protein per scoop, so that fits within that. In terms of their protein content, we see that it has a whey protein blend. So basically, this is a blend of whey protein isolate, which is a form of protein that is just majority protein and not a lot of carbs and fat, as well as whey protein concentrate, which is again mostly protein, but does have a little bit of carbs and fat. And so that's where those extra calories are coming from, not in a high amount, but that's where they're coming from. You also see hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, and that just means that it's been hydrolyzed or broken down to be easier to digest. So the 25 grams of protein are coming from a blend of these 3 ingredients, all of which are whey protein. And whey protein is considered a gold standard for protein powders because it has the ideal amino acid profile and has been well studied to support muscle growth. As you can see, there is no added sugar, so you don't need to worry about that. The tiny amount of carbs that are in this product are coming from the whey protein concentrate. So like I mentioned, whey protein concentrate is mostly protein, but it will have a little bit of milk fat as well as sugars in the form of lactose that are naturally found in milk. It's only 2 grams, so it's not something that I'm overly concerned about, and for most people, they can handle 2 grams of lactose without any stomach issues. So for most people, they should be okay. So for a protein powder, the overall amount of protein and the source of protein are good. But what about the other ingredients? If we continue looking at the ingredient list, the next ingredient is artificial and natural flavors. And when it comes to having artificial and natural flavoring in your products, this is a personal preference. Here's the thing, if you want your product to taste like Chips Ahoy, Oreo, Nutter Butter, Cinnabon, or any type of flavor really, they have to add a flavoring agent to it. And when it comes to artificial flavoring, they need to add this because you're not going to find Chips Ahoy in nature. So they can't really derive it from a plant source that way, so they have to artificially make it. They may use natural flavorings like cocoa, for example, or vanilla to support the flavoring. That's why there's both, but they have to add a combination of the two to get that specific flavor you're expecting when you buy a Chips Ahoy flavored protein powder. Now, not everybody likes the ideas of artificial flavoring, and that's fine, but if that is you, then this product isn't meant for you and it's not right for you, and I would pick something else. If you do choose some of the more flavored options, so especially those brand collaborations, you'll notice that the ingredient list gets a bit bigger. They have to include the ingredient list of the brand's food items too. So for example, with Chips Ahoy, because they use the cookie pieces, they have to add that ingredient list of those cookie pieces into their own ingredient list. And so that's why it looks a lot larger. And here's an example of the Cinnabon one. The ingredient list isn't as large, so you can see that it really is affected by which flavor you're dealing with. Overall though, regardless of the the flavor that you're adding, the nutritional composition of it doesn't change that much. It changes just a little bit. So really it comes down to slightly more carbs as well as the sodium content and maybe a few extra calories. One that does change quite a bit though is their Nutter Butter flavor, which adds an additional 30 calories per scoop. And the reason for this is because they're adding Nutter Butter pieces as well as peanut flour, which contain both protein as well as fat. So that's going to contribute to calories a little bit. So in a nutshell, there are slight differences depending on which flavor you're purchasing. The overall protein content though stays relatively the same. If you do want to minimize the amount of added ingredients in your protein powder and you do want to try GHOST, I would just stick with more of the basic flavors. So for example, chocolate and vanilla. With all this being said, if we're talking about my personal opinion on it, I don't necessarily think we need to be having all of these candy flavored protein powders. Some people like them, but really at the end of the day, I would be using a protein powder as a tool to add more nutrition, not necessarily treating it as kind of a candy or a treat. So personally, it wouldn't be something I would buy, but then again, I do buy a chocolate flavored protein powder, so you could argue that's still kind of candy flavored too. So again, it's personal preference and what your interpretation of it is. So let's continue on with some of the other ingredients. We're going back to the milk chocolate nutrition label here. We see that it has some salt, which is mostly just added for flavor. And they add some digestive enzymes. There are 3 digestive enzymes in this product, so they have proteases, bromelain, and lactase. So proteases help to digest proteins, and it makes sense because this is a protein powder. The only thing I would say to that is that whey protein powder is easily digested and most people tolerate it very well, so you don't necessarily need a protease enzyme to be added to the supplement in order for you to digest it properly. Bromelain is also a proteolytic enzyme, meaning it breaks down proteins. And finally, there is lactase. So the lactase in this is to help break down that milk sugar we talked about earlier, which is lactose. If you are very sensitive to lactose, this lactase enzyme is going to help break it down so you don't have any stomach issues. So for most people, they shouldn't be having any lactose related issues with this protein powder. Overall, it's not bad that they add these digestive enzymes to the product. I just don't think for the average person they're overly necessary. So I wouldn't be buying this protein powder because they have digestive enzymes. If you want them, they're in there, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to buy this product solely because of the digestive enzymes because they're not really helpful for the average person. Then we see that the product has cellulose and xanthan gum. And honestly, the reason why they add these 2 ingredients is because it helps with the consistency and quality of the product, and they act as emulsifiers, so they help keep things together. These ingredients are very, very, very common in protein powders, and it's very challenging to find ones without it. And the reason they're added is because it helps with the texture. So if you don't have these emulsifiers in the protein powder, that's when they start getting really chalky and chunky, and they're really not enjoyable for most people. Finally, we have sucralose. Now, this is a very common sweetener that is added to a lot of protein powders too. It is an artificial sweetener, so depending on your preferences, you may or may not like this. The reason why a lot of companies like to add sucralose is because it contains 0 calories and it contains 0 sugar. Yet it adds a ton of sweetness to the product, making it more enjoyable. So sucralose is 600 times sweeter than sugar. So companies are able to add a very, very small amount, yet attain that sweetness that they would get from adding regular sugar. In terms of its health effects, you would have to consume a very high amount of sucralose to have any issues. So for example, the acceptable daily limit of sucralose is 5 milligrams per kilogram per day. So to put this into perspective, let's say you weigh 150 pounds or 68 kilograms. We do the math on this, then you could safely have 340 milligrams per day. Although they don't provide on the label the exact amount of sucralose in the product, it's the last ingredient listed, so it's going to be the lightest of weight, and it's likely in a small amount because you don't need to add a ton of sucralose to sweeten a product. Adding too much sucralose will actually make it not palatable. With that being said, if you have concerns about artificial sweeteners, and you have every right to be if you don't want to have them, then this product wouldn't be right for you. And that's it for ingredients. Overall, if you want to try the traditional protein powder, I would say that it has a good serving of protein and it's of high quality. However, I would argue that it's not one of the cleanest protein powders out there. But if all you're looking for is a protein powder that has enough protein and it tastes good, then you may like it. If you're looking for one with a more simple ingredient list, I would probably say this one isn't right for you. So next, let's look at their clear protein. So first, let's talk about what a clear protein powder even is. So a clear protein powder is exactly what it sounds like. It is in clear form, meaning that when you mix it with water, it mixes really well and it doesn't look milky like a traditional protein powder would. Basically, the way they achieve a clear protein powder is they use a highly purified form of whey protein isolate. So basically, they take out any types of milk solids or other ingredients that would contribute to that kind of cloudy, milky appearance and texture that you get from a traditional protein powder. Instead, all you're working with is an isolated form of whey protein. This type of protein is a little bit newer, but it is growing in popularity, and so that's why GHOST has an option like this. And you'll probably see a lot of other companies offering them soon if they haven't already. When we take a look at the nutrition facts table, we see that it is a little bit more simple for the clear protein powder compared to the traditional protein powder. As we can see see from the list, it does have fewer calories, so one scoop provides 100 calories from 25 grams of protein, and that's it. And the reason for this is really simple. When you are working with a clear protein powder, you're using an isolated form of whey protein, and it's only protein. That's all it contains, so it doesn't have any carbs or fat. And so at 25 grams of protein times 4 calories per gram, which is the amount of calories in a gram of protein, that gives you 100 calories. And there's nothing more added to the product that has calories, so it's 100 calories. So if you were just looking for a protein powder, you don't want anything else in it, then this one might be a good option for you. So beyond the protein that's in this product, there are a few extra ingredients that are very similar to the traditional whey protein powder we just talked about. So first of all, it does have natural and artificial flavoring, and we've already gone into that in detail. Now, they don't have a ton of different flavors on their website. Right now, you can only buy 3. So the flavorings are really just those, and they don't have any brand sponsorships with them. So you're not getting like the Chips Ahoy or the Oreo flavors. Really, it's pretty basic with their flavoring. So they have blue raspberry, orange cream, and strawberry watermelon. That's it. You'll also notice that it has a couple acids. So it has malic acid, tartaric acid, and citric acid. And these ingredients are added likely for a couple of reasons. First of all, sometimes they will add these acids to protein powders because it helps to control the pH of the product and helps to improve its stability. For a clear protein powder, it likely helps keep it clear and prevent things from clumping up. The other reason it might be added is because it helps with flavor, especially since the flavors are citric and berry based. When it comes to coloring, they do add natural flavorings, which I like to see. So for example, for the blue raspberry one, they add spirulina powder, which gives it that bluey green appearance. For the orange cream flavor, they use beta carotene and they use beetroot powder. And then they just use beetroot powder in the strawberry one. So I do like to see that for the colorings, they're not using artificial colors, but they are using natural colors. Beyond this, there is one difference for the sweeteners. So they use sucralose like we already talked about, but they also use acesulfame potassium, also known as ACE-K. The traditional protein powder only has sucralose. The clear protein powder has both of these artificial sweeteners. So we already talked about sucralose, but when it comes to ACE-K, it's relatively similar. So with ACE-K, it also contains 0 calories and 0 sugar, and it's much sweeter than sugar. Similar to sucralose, it does have a safety profile and is considered safe for consumption. Same thing with sucralose, it is considered safe for consumption, and it does have an established daily limit of 15 milligrams per kilogram per day. So again, if we use the example of someone who's 150 pounds or 68 kilograms, you could have 1,020 milligrams of ACE-K per day before hitting that safety threshold. And when we're talking about these safety thresholds, they actually have a safety margin in place. So technically you could go higher than that, but I would recommend staying well below it. So even though technically speaking, you could hit over 1,000 milligrams of ACE-K per day before you hit the safety limit, the amount that's going to be in this product is going to be very, very low. Protein powders range from about 15 to 20 milligrams of ACE-K per scoop. Sometimes it's even lower than that. So you're not getting a substantial amount in this product. So it's not something I would be overly concerned about. I definitely would pay attention to how much artificial sweeteners you're getting per day from all of your food products. But generally speaking, I wouldn't be concerned from this one. Again, same thing though. If you are concerned about artificial sweeteners, then that's a personal choice you're going to need to make. If you are concerned, then this product wouldn't be right for you. Finally, the last ingredient is silicone. And this is just an anti-foaming ingredient that prevents the product from foaming. So it just helps with stability and quality control. When we're talking about the protein content of the clear protein, it is a good quality protein and in a good dose. As for the other ingredients, the same thing applies that I already mentioned. It's not the cleanest version, but it is an option, especially if you're looking for a clear protein and you don't really like those milky based traditional protein powders. Okay, so let's talk about the cost. According to their website, their clear whey protein powder costs $44.99 for 1.4 pounds or 0.64 kilograms. This provides 20 servings per container, so it's about $2.25 US per scoop. Their traditional whey protein powder is $49.99 for 2 pounds or 0.9 kilograms, so it is a bit larger. This provides about 26 servings per container, so you're paying around $1.92 US dollars per scoop. So if you're looking for your cheapest option, the traditional whey protein powder is going to be a little bit cheaper. In terms of cost, it's relatively standard for protein powder and not over the top. There are definitely more affordable ones on the market, and I have reviewed a lot of them in the past. If you go to Costco, you can buy Optimum Nutrition or Lean Fit protein powders, and they're a lot cheaper and of high quality. So feel free to check those ones out if you're not interested in this protein powder. But overall, I wouldn't say the cost is outrageous. Okay, so let's talk about the quality. In terms of the quality, what I really want to talk about is third-party testing. These protein powders don't appear to be third-party tested because I can't find it on their website and their bottles don't indicate that, at least from what I've seen. The reason I like third-party testing is because it helps to ensure consistency and quality of the product, and it helps ensure that what's on the label is in the product and nothing more. If you are a professional athlete, then this product is definitely not right for you because it is not sports certified. Now, not being third-party testing doesn't necessarily mean the product is inherently bad, so I do want to make sure you know that. However, third-party testing just provides that additional reassurance and trust. All right, so let's talk about my overall thoughts. Overall, GHOST protein powders, whether it's the traditional one or the clear version, both provide a good amount of protein per scoop, and it is a high quality protein. If you prefer just whey protein isolate, then I would go with the clear version. But the traditional option is still a good option for most people. They do lose a couple points for me because they are not third-party tested. And I would say that their protein powders tend to be a little bit more processed. So if that is not something you're interested in and you're a little bit more mindful of artificial flavorings as well as artificial sweeteners, I wouldn't say this protein powder is the best one for you. But it really depends on your personal preferences. If you just want to try different flavored protein powders and the idea of a Chips Ahoy or Oreo flavored protein powder gets you excited, then feel free to give it a go. Personally, I probably wouldn't buy these protein powders just because I prefer more of a simple ingredient list. That's just my personal preference, but you decide what's best for you. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any other products or topics you want me to cover. And if you did enjoy this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel because your support helps me reach more people like you. And I'll see you in the next video.